Welcome to the 2000 Chevron Conservation Awards. Tonight we honor 6 exceptional organizations and individuals who have worked tirelessly, often without recognition or thanks, to defend and restore America's precious natural resources. Tonight's first award recipient is Dr. Mark LaSalle, Marine Resource Specialist for the Coastal Research and Extension Center at Mississippi State University. The holder of advanced degrees in fishery, biology, zoology, and entomology, Mark has demonstrated an extraordinary gift for sharing his vast scientific knowledge with others.
And I enjoy learning new things all the time. And I guess the most important part of what I do is sharing that information and that joy and passion with other people.
But the most important thing that a conservationist can do is be a good educator, and that's what I think Mark LaSalle's greatest talent is. He not only is a good educator, but he is involved in so many different activities, the Boy Scouts, the 4-H, programs through Mississippi State where he works, the many other environmental groups, the Audubon Society.
My approach toward teaching is to get people to see and touch and actually handle the things that they're learning about.
Until I took the Master Naturalist course that Mark and Kathy offered, I really didn't know how much I did not know as an environmental educator.
And what it amounts to is we bring these folks out and we introduce them to natural history of the environments around them so that they understand in some detail the pieces and parts of our native habitats so that they can then bring people out to these native habitats and teach them about nature.
He gets them enthused about being in the field even when originally they're very hesitant. They have no desire to get in and get wet and muddy and dirty, but his enthusiasm and his knowledge of what he's trying to relay to his audience is tremendous, and everybody within 15-20 minutes is just roaring. They're up to their knees in mud. One of the many projects, but very, very important project that Mark's been involved with has been the establishment of the Mississippi Grand Bay NER, the National Estuarine Research Reserve.
What's unique about this site was that it was actually planned with input from biologists from the start. And a lot of the ways that they built the marsh enhanced its ability to do what it obviously is doing very well.
Without Mark's constant enthusiasm, his organizational skills, his gearing up volunteers across South Mississippi to be a part of this, it wouldn't have happened.
I think one of the fine marks of a good educator is not just knowing your material, but being able to deliver it, and to deliver it not to just one group, such as kindergartners or older people, but to be able to relate to your audience, your students on a broad base. And Mark really has that.
I thoroughly enjoy being with people and sharing my passion for the environment with people. And if I can find more and better ways to do that, whether it's with some of the Master Naturalist program, for example, where we're actually training other people to do what I love to do. And if that's what I can do, then I think that's a good goal, an aspiration for the future.
The next award recipient, Catherine Goodbar, has devoted many decades of her life to volunteering on behalf of land preservation, recycling, and other environmental causes. Her efforts have led to major progress, and her teachings have given many students a deep and lifelong attachment to the land.
I think I'm a born volunteer. I volunteer for everything because that's where the fun things are going on. There are exciting things happening out there that you can help with. When somebody says we need a volunteer for, my hand is up before they ever tell me what it is they want the volunteer for. And that's sort of the way I got into working with Natural Area Preservation Association. This is Kachina Prairie. It's about 45 acres of remnant tall grass prairie. At one time in Texas, there were something like 12,000 acres of tall grass prairie, but with agriculture and cities and urban sprawl, there's very little of it left. Since 1984, we have preserved 43 parcels of land, about 25,000 acres, and it's all been with the work of volunteers.
One of
the ways that Catherine, I think, is very successful is that her enthusiasms for what she's doing and what she's involved in make people want to do whatever it is she's excited about.
One of the other delightful volunteer activities has been working with Richardson Environmental Action League. This organization began in the mid-70s when recycling was just getting started. And we went at it with a vengeance. I was teaching school at that time, and I got involved because I wanted my students to understand the importance of recycling and be involved in it. I wanted them to get started being a volunteer. And so I took groups of them there, and at that time we had to stack all the newspapers, break all the glass, haul all the cans off to market, and we had a wonderful time doing it. There's no such thing as burnout when you teach the thing you love. You just have real enthusiasm for the kids to love it the way you do. It's amazing that a large portion of the population doesn't have any notion of how the natural world functions, how it's put together. And I think the urban sprawl and the overuse of resources really comes from the fact that people don't know what the consequences will be. So, as far as I'm concerned, the most important thing that a conservationist, an environmentalist can do is educate.
One of the things that consistently impresses me is the number of young teachers who, just in the course of conversation, will say, "Oh, where is Mrs. Goodbar? Have you seen her lately?" And of course I see her all the time. And they will say, almost as a confession, "She's the reason I'm teaching," or "She's the one who got me interested in doing this in the first place."
If young people ask about getting involved in conservation work, or if you simply want to tell them, I think I would simply say, come take a walk with me.
Our next honoree is the Parks and Recreation Department of the city of Baytown, Texas. Once known as an oil town because of all the oil drilling nearby, in the early 1990s, Baytown shifted its focus to protecting its rich natural habitat and extensive wetlands.
It has become very apparent to us that Baytown, we are really blessed with a lot of natural resources. The name itself, Baytown, connotes and denotes a lot of bays, and there's a tremendous, literally miles of bays that we have here. The biggest challenge was to try to educate our citizens of the hidden treasures that we had in our resources and make sure that we did not continue to neglect them or ignore them. Our children, just like any other children, are the future of our community. Therefore, it's important to make sure they understand the environmental concerns and resources that we have.
The Baytown Parks and Recreation Department undertook 4 ongoing projects: the Goose Creek Stream Greenbelt Project, the Baytown Nature Center, the Eddie V. Gray Wetland Center, and the George and Frida Chandler Arboretum.
Goose Creek Stream is a stream that had been neglected for a long time until this committee decided to do something with it. It has changed the face of the stream to the point now that we have various facilities that are located on Goose Creek Stream. We're also looking at the possibility of having canoeing on this stream that has not been done before. But it was the first one that started. From there, then we went to the Nature Center and then the Wetland Center. Here we are at our Baytown Nature Center. We're very proud of this center. It was an old subdivision called the Brownwood subdivision that, due to subsidence, it became more flood prone. And in 1983, Hurricane Alicia came through and pretty well devastated this area. And since then, the community, along with the industry, have gotten together and had really transformed this into a beautiful nature center. One where now our volunteers working with our school district in Lee College come here and show this to our children. And also, because we have so many birds and other wildlife here, we have visitors from all over the state and all over the country. This is a great example of how, when people get together, different entities, they can then transform something into something very beautiful that we all can take advantage now, and then later, of course, our children and their children's children.
The next winner of the 2000 Chevron Conservation Award is Tennessee 10th grader Melody M. Page. Melody has been a leader in local conservation and recycling programs, starting a water conservation project at the local 4-H club when she was only 9.
I'm 16 years old now. I'm still in conservation. I'm dealing with a lot more things. I'm not exclusively dealing with water conservation. I'm dealing with a broad range of different types of conservation.
I believe that Melody was recognized for this conservation award because she is very dedicated to the environment. She is dedicated to any project that she tackles.
The can recycling, the Shelby County 4-H Honor Club, we chose to do that as part of a community service activity / fundraiser because there's several can recycling places around Memphis where you can collect cans. We've been recognized at the national level for various community service activities, and it's grown a lot.
She's a member of the 4-H Honor Club here in Shelby County, and because of that, she's recognized as a leader among the teens here. And she's just got a tremendous amount of initiative, a tremendous amount of energy.
I began working with Ducks Unlimited when I was 15, and I helped with the Great Outdoors Festival. And we work exclusively with the children, and we help them do various conservation crafts.
She's always looking for new ways of doing things, and looking for ways to help her community, and in doing that, she has enabled herself to grow and develop as a person.
The thing I'm most proud of is going on Fox 13, Good Morning Memphis, and promoting the Rebook program and Shelby County 4-H, because from that we collected 6 tons of outdated telephone books, which resulted in around 60 tons total across Shelby County, and that is the most that they have had collected in the June Rebook program since they began it.
And we had so many calls, so many people wanted to deliver phone books here that we ran out of space. We had a couple of dumpsters and they were full, and we actually sent telephone books to other locations.
Well, the most important thing about conservation is letting people know the benefits of recycling and how to recycle and where to recycle. It would definitely have to be letting people know, getting it out in the public, telling people, where you can recycle things, where you take them.
She sets a goal and she works toward it. And she doesn't let anything stand in her way. She has a tremendous amount of tenacity. And that is very, very valuable for young people to see. And she's a role model.
It's very important to conserve our natural resources and help save the earth, so then these resources that are around now will still be around 1,000 years from now.
The recipient of our next award, David H. Gibson, is Executive Director of the Association for the Protection of the Adirondacks, an organization working to protect and enhance the natural resources of New York State's Adirondack and Catskill parks.
And our organization, dating to 1901, the Association for the Protection of the Adirondacks, is an excellent example of a citizen-supported conservation organization because of people's innate desire to connect with nature. Paul Schaefer and his family, a great wilderness conservationist, stayed here and put up roots here beginning in the 1920s. And this camp, Beaver House, Paul built in the 1940s as a place where wilderness conservationists can gather and talk about their common goals, and also a place where hunters and fishermen can gather because they are a part of that great coalition for conservation and wilderness protection here in New York State.
David's perspective, which comes from a broader knowledge than just the Adirondacks, is of a special value to us. And he also has the perspective of having really researched the couple hundred years background of this area. So he knows it as a scientist, and he understands as a naturalist, being on the land and knowing a lot about it in all seasons.
Called a bridge builder by his colleagues, David has helped many diverse local groups find common ground.
There are people that never got together before David started inviting both sides, all 10 sides, to different meetings that we have every fall.
David has also actively promoted the sharing of information with park representatives from around the world.
Foreign countries realize that we have a legal system here to protect our protected areas and our parks that they do not have. They do not have that history. So it is a sharing of information and background that is the reason why we're so interested in bringing peoples to the Adirondacks from Italy and from Siberia and other parts of the world, and also in visiting their parks.
His knowledge and his sense of value of parkland, whether it's next to an urban area or it's this 6 million acres up here, is ongoing. And he has both the educational background, the spiritual commitment, and the affability to work with all kinds of groups and pull them together. That's his greatest strength, I think.
Well, what's important about conservation of our environment and our common environment is the fact that our lifeblood and our whole development as people stem from an innate connection to the natural world. We are shaped as a society. We've been shaped by wilderness, and I think that there is a great thirst of people to connect back with the natural world, and that's been taking place since the industrial period.
The recipient of tonight's final Chevron Conservation Award is Dr. Betsy Dresser. As director of the Audubon Institute Center for Research of Endangered Species and professor at the University of New Orleans, Betsy has won international acclaim for her pioneering work in the new field of interspecies reproductive technology. Her groundbreaking research offers real hope for our planet's vanishing species, and she has often been quoted as saying, "We want to make extinction extinct."
When I was a child, I grew up at the zoo, and I was just so amazed by these wonderful animals that we have. And it made me realize that we weren't going to have them if we didn't do something special to try to save them. One of the very significant projects that we've done that really the public even really enjoyed and became aware of was when we transferred the frozen embryo of an African wildcat into a domestic cat. This allows us to use a common species like the domestic cat as surrogate mothers for embryos from some of these very endangered species. And other projects that we've done, we've produced the first test tube gorilla, and we've just worked with a lot of very rare and endangered species. I guess one of the most favorite things for me is to see babies born, to know that our technology has worked, and that indeed someday into the future we may have this species because we were able to produce babies now through the use of the technology. I think scientists in the future will have technologies that we don't have today, and the thing that we're doing here is we're preserving options for them. We're preserving DNA in a state that someday they'll be able to use and hopefully bring back animals that may have gone extinct had we not done this work. One of the aspects of what we do is what we call the frozen zoo, and I think it's a very, very important tool because we can hopefully keep animals alive hundreds, maybe thousands of years. The first time I went to Africa, I saw elephants and rhinos and animals that we had actually done work with in captivity. And it takes on a whole different meaning because all of a sudden you realize all of the hard work and the science you put into trying to save these species is for a reason. And it's because we have these animals today. They're alive, they're real. They're animals that if we don't do this work, someday we won't have. And, you know, to me it would be such a tragedy to just see a tiger in a textbook or to know that one day there used to be elephants, but there aren't anymore. And so I guess that's why I do this work. so that for the future, people will be able to have and see what I've seen. You know, often I feel I'm in the emergency room of the wildlife business, really, because if we don't do what we're doing now, we're not going to have these species.
We are proud to have presented the winners of the 2000 Chevron Conservation Awards. The 6 award winners and many others